the NCAA was looking into Tennessee for certain NIL violations. Now, the assumption for, I think, everybody and their mama, as vague as this statement was about the NCAA coming after Tennessee, was that it was probably linked to Nico Iamaleava and his recruitment to Tennessee. There was a pretty good amount of rumors that Nico Iamaleava was rumored to be like the $8 million recruit. Whether that's true or not, we're not here to talk about that here, but that's the rumor, that's the assumption, that's kind of what we're operating under here. So Tennessee gets hit with this allegation, investigation, whatever you want to call it, and she releases a statement that, like I said at the top of this show, just full 8-mile kind of fashion comes after the NCAA. And she had every right to do that, and we're glad that she did. But to kind of break down what she said, it was like a 3-page document, 2.5-page document. We'll kind of summarize it for you here. Basically, she was like, listen, your rules are unclear. What you're saying isn't true. And you created this mess for the NCAA. You gave us unclear rules about what NIL, is and what you can and can't do in this space. And also they're unrealistic. And now you're trying to play gotcha with us because your rules don't make sense, are unclear, and you're trying to put the genie back in the bottle. No. It's not how this works. We're not standing for all that. And so to go back to what she, I think, has a really good point in saying here, I want to pull up this part of her statement. She says, it is intellectually dishonest for the NCAA staff to issue guidelines that say a third-party collective/business may meet with a prospective student athlete to discuss NIL, even enter into a contract with prospective student athletes, but at the same time, the collective may not engage in a conversation that would be of a recruiting nature. Pause right there. What she's saying here is you can't tell us we're allowed to have conversations about NIL from a collective level, but then assume that's not going to have some sort of impact on these recruits' decision. Okay. The statement continues. She says, any discussion about NIL might factor into a prospective student athlete's decision to attend an institution. This creates an inherently unworkable situation, and everybody knows it. Bars. Just straight fire from Don D. Plowman, again, the chancellor at Tennessee. So essentially what we're saying is you can't say, here's the job. Let's talk about it. Let's have a good conversation. But also, we're not going to discuss salary. And when we do discuss salary, that can't factor into your decision to maybe or maybe not take this job. Like, do we see how it's not just like the rule is unclear and just doesn't make sense. It's like from a human nature standpoint, factoring in what NIL could or couldn't mean to your future is obviously going to be a part of where you go to school. And so I'm not saying that Tennessee, did or didn't break rules with the whole Nico recruitment. I happen to believe they did that all well above board when it comes to what is or wasn't allowed at that point in time. But like the rule itself just like defies human logic, defines human nature. If we're talking NIL during our, trip to a school or during our evaluation of a school, yes, that's going to factor into what we might do when it comes to our decision to make a, college future decision. Like that's human nature. You can't separate those. Your brain doesn't work that way. So now there's some people on the internet today that I think are looking at this the wrong way. And it's a lot of different fan bases within the SEC who we transparently love, but you're seeing another school get in trouble within your conference that you compete with consistently, and you're saying, good, they broke the rules, or you're thinking there might be some smoke to them breaking the rules, get after them. Get after them. Give them all they can handle and then some. That's not the way this works. When there is a corrupt cop, how many of you know, like, it's only a matter of time before that corrupt cop pulls you over for speeding when you're going 5 below the speed limit, or comes and knocks on your door and says you did something wrong when you didn't actually do something wrong. Like, this is Tennessee that's on the hot seat here, but this is a thing that is bigger than just Tennessee. This is not Tennessee versus the NCAA. This is college football versus the NCAA. So when you're saying, well, hey, get after Tennessee, no. It's not Tennessee. It's all of college football that is now, I think, going to be impacted by what happens here going forward. And I would also say this. As we look at this whole situation with Tennessee and the NCAA, we are what we repeatedly do, right? Like we are, in a lot of ways, our history and our track records. Look at the track record of the NCAA. Do we really think this is the most common sense organization? Do we really think they're the ones that are in the right here when it comes to Tennessee and how they do NIL versus how the NCAA is trying to play gotcha with them right now? Let's take a look at what the NCAA has done just in recent history. The Daryl Jackson thing. Transfers to Florida State, transfers to be closer to home to his mother who is sick. NCAA says, nope, can't play. Sorry. That makes no sense. The Tez Walker thing. We all understood how that transfer portal technicality did make no sense for the period of time where he wasn't allowed to play. Like, that was nonsense. That lacked all common sense. But we're supposed to believe the NCAA is in the right here? That somehow, some way they are actually hitting it on the head here? No, of course not. The Reggie Bush having no Heisman thing, that makes no sense. Mason Smith, we'll rewind the tape even further from the Tez Walker and Daryl Jackson thing. At the beginning of the year, Mason Smith from LSU is suspended for NIL violations. Okay, now I'm not here to tell you Mason Smith didn't break the rules. It sounds like at that point in time that he did. But to suspend him for a game in an NIL world where NIL is running, the show at this point in time, but he did it previously. He broke a rule previously, so we want to suspend him for a game. That was the best punishment we think we could levy for that guy? Makes no sense. Makes absolutely no sense. So now it's coming to a head. Because before we got on the air here, Pete Thamel from ESPN tweeted out that the attorney generals from Tennessee and Virginia have filed a federal lawsuit against the NCAA that essentially says the NCAA, or that talks about the NIL as an antitrust violation for how they're approaching that whole part of things legally. So we're going to have Pete Nakos on here in just a minute to talk about that. But essentially what I'm deciphering that information as, or that report as, is Tennessee and Virginia saying, all right, let's play ball. You want to come after us? Tennessee saying, you want to make this a big thing and talk about how we're breaking rules? First of all, no, that's not how this is going to go. Second of all, let's take it a step further. We're not just playing defense, we're playing offense. We're coming after y'all. We'll settle this thing out in front of everybody, and we'll make sure that the record is set straight here. And like I said just a moment ago, this will be impactful, I think, for the rest of college football going forward. I don't think this is just a one-off where we kind of course correct for a second. This is going to be like, for a long time here, we see some change after this kind of situation. So I'm curious to see what happens here. Again, I do not think this is the end of it. I do think that we got something going on with the future of NIL as it pertains to what's going to happen here, and I'm excited to watch.
Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.